Once again, good morning. Let's now start. Our lesson for today is a little bit long because we'll start from the very start of categorical syllogism until or up to the Venn diagramming. So please follow. So first, let us understand what is categorical syllogism. So first, we have to define what a syllogism is. I know this is your first time to hear the word because you never had this when you were in high school. A syllogism is a form of discourse wherein you're going to infer or deduce one proposition from two others. It means there are three propositions involved in a syllogism. So may dalawa na premises na tinatawag and then may isang conclusion na tinatawag. Kaya tatlo lahat. Then idagdag natin yung word na categorical. So if you say categorical, it is absolute, has no condition. So if we're going to combine the two categorical syllogism, the propositions involved are categorical. We already discussed about the categorical propositions. Maybe have an example. Here. All free beings are capable of self-determination as our first premise. All persons are free being as our second premise, and our conclusion is all persons are capable of self-determination. So let us locate the different propositions. This is the first proposition, the highlighted one. And this is categorical. Then we have the second proposition, which is the second premise, also a categorical proposition. And then the third proposition, which is also categorical and is called our conclusion. So this is an example of a categorical syllogism. The conclusion is inferred or deduced from the two previous premises. So the first two premises are known ideas or original ideas. And then we have from these two original or known ideas, we deduce or we infer a new idea. So yan ang gamit ng syllogism or categorical syllogism. Now, what are the elements of a categorical syllogism? We have the premises. As I've said, the first two categorical propositions are the first and second premises. But in a categorical syllogism, we call this as the major premise and the minor premise. The major premise is the first premise, and the second premise is the minor premise. So that is always the arrangement. You cannot interchange the two. Ang nauuna, ang first premise ay tinatawag na major premise ito. It contains the major term. And then our second premise is our minor premise, which contains the minor term. And of course, the conclusion, which is the consequence or the result of the reasoning from the two premises. Now we have the three terms. You have to understand this because you can never understand the succeeding topics or lessons if you are not able to understand or clearly understand these three terms. the major, the minor, and the middle terms. So we have the major term. The major term is the predicate of the conclusion. So in our example, let us locate where the major term is. It says there is the predicate of the conclusion. So it means this one. So it is not in the premises, though it is located also there. But when you are asked to locate, if you are asked to identify, you have to start it in the conclusion. So in this case, the predicate of our conclusion is capable of self-determination. So that is our major term. Now we have,
Ni sir, sir, hindi po namin nakikita yung ano, yung pre-present mo.
is that true to all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So please give me a feedback whenever you do not see my presentation.
Okay po, sir.
Okay na ba?
Okay na,
Meron na
sir.
ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Sir.
good. So again, the major term in this syllogism is capable of self-determination because it is the predicate of our conclusion. Of course, you can also find that in our premise. Dito din siya. Okay? Then the minor term, which is the subject of our conclusion, is all persons. So lagi, doon mo makikita yan, yung minor term. And of course, you can also find that in one of our premises. Nandito din siya. So that's how to locate or identify the major and the minor terms. Nasa conclusion. Okay? So if you're asked to identify or to determine the major and minor terms, go directly to the conclusion, not in our major or minor premises. But if you're asked about middle term, that's the time that you're going to proceed to our premises, because it is there that you can find the middle term. Yung walang term, yung term na wala sa conclusion, yun ang nandoon sa middle term, sa premises natin. At yun yung middle term natin. So in this case, for example, self-determination is our major term. Nandito din siya. Minor term, all persons, andito din siya. So, alin dyan ang hindi na-identify? Yun na yung middle term natin. So, in this case, our middle term is free being. Free being. So, that's how to identify the different terms. So, take note of that. That is very important. Any questions so far? So, isa-isayin natin para maliwanag lahat. Okay, there's none. Let's proceed. So we have symbols involved. So since the middle term is the predicate, it is symbolized by P. So kapag nakakita kayo ng capital P, ibig sabihin that is our major term. Capital S is subject, minor term. Capital M, middle term. Plus sign is affirmative. Then minus sign is negative. Small letter U is universal term and small p is particular term. So you have to memorize them. So more examples for our syllogism. All trees are plants. An acacia is a tree. Hence, an acacia is a plant. So let us identify the different terms. So nasaan ang ating major term? Sabi kanina, punta ka sa conclusion kapag major at minor term ang pinag-uusapan. So in this case, our conclusion is this one. And we said a while ago that the major term is the predicate of the conclusion. So in this case, our major term is plant. Kaya meron tayong capital P, and then small p, which indicates that this term is a particular term. Ano naman yung minor term natin? Yan yung subject naman, acacia. Bakit U o universal? Because this term is universal. Saan ang middle term natin? Yung natitira at wala sa conclusion, kundi nasa premises natin. We have three. Ayan, three. All trees. P siya dito kasi particular, U siya dito kasi universal. So another example. No trees are angels. An acacia is a tree. Bakit parang naulit? Hindi. No trees are angels. An acacia is a tree. Therefore, an acacia is not an angel. So again, let us locate the terms. Our major term, angel. Our minor term, acacia. Middle term, trees. Mali ito. Dapat. Then it is supposed to be P. Yan. MP. M. P. Then we already identified our terms. Now let's go with the rules for valid categorical syllogisms. So we have rules to follow in order to have or to arrive at valid categorical syllogisms. There is no fixed number for this because some authors have 7, 8, 9, 10. In the reference that I used, it's 8. So let us review. So first rule is only 3 terms must appear in the syllogism. So it is telling us that a valid syllogism must have 3 terms. Tatlo at tatlo lamang. Hindi pwedeng dalawa, hindi pwedeng higit sa tatlo. It cannot be less than 3, cannot be more than 3. For example, all buildings are tall, humans are growing. So we cannot deduce any conclusion because our premises are faulty. Let us count how many terms are there in the premises alone. So 1, building. 2, tall. 3, humans. 4, growing. So we have 4 terms. That is already a violation of this rule. Hence, without even deducing or inferring the conclusion, this is obviously invalid. In this case, it is easy to uh, determine that it is invalid. But how about if there are two the same terms? I mean, the same spelling, the same pronunciation, but they mean different things. So we call this as the equivocal terms. And sometimes also we have the analogous terms because terms must be used univocally so that they are identical. Parehong-pareho. Kasi kung mag-ibang ibig sabihin, akala mo tatlo lamang yung terms doon pero apat pala. So we have this example. Man must eat. The picture on the wall is a man. Therefore, the picture on the wall must eat. So common sense would tell us that the conclusion is already faulty. Mali. Hindi naman kakaya ng isang larawan. Pero mukhang tama. Kasi pag bibilangin natin yung terms, tatlo. Man, eat, picture. Tatlo. Pero bakit invalid? Kasi the man here is a man who is a living being. Kumakain. Kasi buhay na tao yan. Buhay. But this man on the wall, the picture on the wall, is a different man. Because it is not a living being. It is a thing. Hindi naman kumakain yan. So, because they are different, they are analogous. Parehong tao pero magkaibang sitwasyon. Magkaiba sila. So if we're going to count the terms here, there are actually 4 terms. Hence, this is a violation of this rule. Another example is green is a color. His joke is green. Therefore, his joke is a color. So the word green here are used in different meanings. Green here is talking about a color which can be seen. Tunay na kulay. Pero yung green na ito, iba ang ibig sabihin. Kapag green if a joke is described as green, we mean something else, not a color. Kaya invalid ito. Invalid itong syllogism na ito. That is rule number 1. Rule number 2, the major and the minor terms must be particular in the conclusion if used as particular in the premises. So if we violate this, we call it illicit process or illicit major or illicit minor. So simple lang ang sinasabi nito. Dapat magkapareho ng bilang. If the term is used as particular in the premise, huwag niyong kalimutan yung premises natin, major and minor premise. If the term is used there as particular, then it must also be particular in the conclusion. Pero kung naging universal yung isa, particular yung isa, magkakaroon na ng violation. Okay, let us understand this. Punta tayo dito. Kung kailan ba natin sinasabi na particular and universal yung mga terms natin. So remember that we only have 4 propositions. A, E, I, O. Master this. A, E, I, O. And in a proposition, we have the subject and the predicate. For the A proposition, the subject is distributed. When we say distributed, it is universal. The term is used as universal, such as all SRP. In this case, S is universal. because it involves all the S's in the universe. That's why it is distributed. Whereas the P, it is undistributed because it is used as a predicate. So always remember, if it is an A proposition, then the subject is distributed and the predicate is undistributed. For the E proposition, both terms are distributed because they exclude each other. They exclude each other. All S are not P. So that S is used as universal, P is also used as universal. So both terms are distributed. Some S are P, I proposition. The subject is undistributed because it does not include or exclude all the S's. And same with P. It is also undistributed. For the O proposition, the subject is undistributed, but the predicate is distributed. So again, we say that term is particular if it is undistributed, and we say that it is universal if it is distributed. So you might need to take a screenshot of this or a picture or write down. You have to memorize that one. So if you memorize this in order AEIO, it follows DDUU and then UDUD para hindi nyo makalimutan. AEIO, DDUU, UDUD. So balikan natin yung rule number 2 na yon. So halimbawa natin. All humans are animals. No monkeys are humans. No monkeys are animals. So illicit major daw to. So all humans are animals. Distributed ito. Automatic na yan kasi A proposition yan. And then yung predicate natin is particular. Ito, universal, distributed. The same here. It is also distributed. So tignan natin yung major term natin na sinasabing illicit. So our major term is animals. So sabi dito, if the term is used as particular in the premise, it should also be particular in the conclusion. So yung animal natin dito, yung major term natin sa major premise, it is used as particular. Pagpunta sa conclusion, naging universal. Kaya may illicit process. Hence, this is invalid. Okay? Invalid yan. Ganito din sa pangalawa at pangatlong halimbawa natin. Chairs are furniture. No tables are chair. No tables are furniture. Pareho sila. Yung furniture dito ay universal. Pero particular siya dito. Sinasabi dapat kung particular siya dito sa taas, sa premise, particular din siya dito sa conclusion. Pero dito, particular sa premise pero universal sa conclusion, kaya invalid. Then, another example for illicit minor. No man is an angel. Angels are intelligent beings. Therefore, no intelligent beings are men. So, alin ba dito yung ating minor term? Intelligent beings. Universal siya dito sa conclusion. Pero pagpunta natin dito sa premise, ay particular siya. Again, dapat particular din siya sa conclusion kasi particular nga siya sa premise. Yun ang sinasabi ng rule number 2. So, illicit major and illicit minor. Rule number 3, illicit middle term. The middle term must not appear in the conclusion. Walang puwang ang middle term sa conclusion. What should be found in the conclusion are the major and the minor terms only. Kung makikita natin ang middle term sa conclusion, automatic that is invalid. Kasi ang middle term ay nasa major and minor premise lamang. Okay? So take a look at this example. Giant is a small guy. Giant is a great soldier. Therefore, giant is great and small. So, major term, small, minor term, great, middle term, giant. So, invalid na siya agad. Andito yung tatlong terms natin, bawal yan. Same example. Star apple is green, star apple is sweet, star apple is green and sweet. Sweet, major, green, minor, middle, star apple. Bawal yan. So it's invalid. Middle term must be used at least once as a universal. So take note, yung middle term natin, dapat maging universal siya minsan. It means if it is used as particular twice, it is invalid. Okay? Let's take a look at this example. Every monkey is eating banana. Jordan is eating banana. Therefore, Jordan is a monkey. Alin ang middle term natin dito? Banana. Ito, banana. In the major premise, banana is undistributed. Eating banana. Undistributed. So, particular. Ganun din dito kasi a proposition, undistributed din siya. So, particular. So, ang sinasabi dito dapat at least once gagamitin siyang universal. Pero dito, parehong particular. Kaya yung ating conclusion, napaka-obvious. Because Jordan cannot be a monkey. Okay? So, yun ang sinasabi natin. Or, number 5. If both premises are affirmative, the conclusion must be affirmative. So, our example here. If the major and the minor premises are affirmative, so plus plus, our conclusion must also be affirmative. Hindi pwedeng negative. So, pag naging negative, tulad nito, pangalawa ay magiging invalid siya. Two affirmative premises cannot result to a negative conclusion. It should be a positive or affirmative conclusion. Okay? Kaya dito sa halimbawa na ito, any vice is a sin. Some hobbies are vices. Therefore, some hobbies are not sins. It doesn't make sense. Or mali yung ating conclusion na dyan. Number 6. Both premises must not be negative. At least one must be affirmative. So sinasabi dito, both premises cannot be negative. Always, for a valid syllogism, one of the premises must be affirmative. We cannot draw a conclusion from two negative premises. Tulad nito, Manila is not in Thailand, Thailand is not in Malaysia. Therefore, Manila is not in Malaysia. So, this is invalid. Parehong negative yung dalawang premises. Dapat affirmative yung isa. Then number 8. So, karugtong niya yan. If one premise is negative, the conclusion must be negative. If one premise is particular, the conclusion must be particular. So ito, kung negative ang isa sa premises, automatically negative yung conclusion. Okay? Pero pag naging positive yung conclusion, automatically that is invalid. Sir, paano pag parehong affirmative yung premises? It's okay. The conclusion can be valid. Plus plus, it's okay. Pero pag minus plus or plus minus, the conclusion must be minus or negative to make it valid. And then, sabi pa dito, if one premise is particular, the conclusion must be particular. So, our case here, halimbawa sana, pag sinabing particular, ito, this is universal, this is particular. Particular yan. That's the right combination. At kapag ganyan, sinasabi dito dapat this is universal. Universal. Anong conclusion natin? Is it universal or particular? Sinasabi dito dapat particular. Kapag naging universal siya, maging invalid. Okay? So that is rule number 7. And the last, if both premises are particular, no conclusion is possible. So kung parehong particular naman, indicated by some, we cannot deduce a conclusion, a valid conclusion. Kasi dapat ang combination, universal, particular, or universal, universal. It can never be both particular. Automatic na negative, invalid kapag ganyan na. So these are the 8 rules to have a valid syllogism. So a violation of any one of these rules would make a syllogism invalid. Any question? If there's none, let's proceed with the next. Mood and figure. Mood and figure. So I will present another presentation, the video that I actually sent you. Yeah. So intindihin natin kung ano ba ang mood, ano ba ang term. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nakikita niyo ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, mood. Ano nga ba ang sinasabi? What do we refer to if we talk about mood? The mood is simply the order of sentence or proposition in a syllogism in standard form of categorical syllogism. So order of proposition. So actually we just simply identify the propositions and the syllogism, and that is the mood. Halimbawa, this one. Some watercolors are masterpieces. That is I, proposition. All watercolors are paintings. That is an A proposition. And some paintings are masterpieces. That is an I proposition. So that the mood of the syllogism is I. As simple as that. That is the mood. I. Just simply identify the involved propositions in a syllogism, and that is our mood, or that is the mood. So in this example, also, all men are mortal, all Socrates are men, all Socrates are mortal beings. So A. All of these propositions are A. Hence, the mood is A. So obviously, in a syllogism, there are three propositions. Hence, in a mood, it has three uh, propositions involved. So again, if you're asked to identify or determine the mood, just simply identify the propositions, and that is the mood. AI, so mga ganon. Now, figure naman tayo. So, mood and figure. If we talk about figure, we are actually locating, we are finding where the middle term is. Hinahanap natin kung nasaan yung middle term natin, yung position niya. Nasa subject kaya o nasa predicate. So, yun ang figure. Here. So, in the proposition, we have the subject and the predicate, as I have said. And in the premises, we can find the middle term. Now, where are the middle terms located? Where is the middle term located? In the premises. So we are talking about figure. So in figure 1, the middle term is the subject of the major premise and the predicate of the minor premise. Ito. MN. Kaya, figure 1 is supre na tinatawag. Supre. Because the middle term is found in the subject of the major premise and the predicate of the minor premise. Supre. Kapag figure 2, ilipat mo yung major premise. Ito. Ilipat mo yung M sa kabila. So that we can find the middle term both in the predicates of the major and the minor premises. And we call this figure 2 as predicate. Parehong nasa predicate. When you go to figure 3, ilipat mo lang sa subject yung dalawa. So that figure 3 is sub-sub. Both are in or located in the subjects of the premises. Figure 4, baliktarin mo yung figure 1. Kaya magiging presub. So we only have 4 figures. So fix na ang mga yan. Supre, pre, sub, presub. Yun lang. That is our figure. So if you're asked to determine the mood and figure, you can say A1, kung yun ang nandun. A2, I2, I3, OA, I4. So depende sa ating syllogism. So that is our figure. Now, let's proceed with the valid syllogisms. involving the different modes and figures. Actually, given na ang ating mga valid syllogisms. Hindi natin mahihirapan. Kailan ba natin masasabi na valid ang isang syllogism? We say that a syllogism is valid if it does not violate any of the rules mentioned. But if it violates at least one of the rules, then it is invalid. So napakadami nating combination ng syllogism. Pero na-summarize na kung alin yung mga valid. So, here, I'm looking for the, yun, ito. So, take note of this. Oops. There are actually 15 unconditional syllogisms. 15. Yan. Ito yung mga yun. Yung nasa taas na walang yellow. 4 sa figure 1, 4 sa figure 2, 4 sa figure 3, 3 sa figure 4. These are unconditionally valid syllogisms. Kapag sinabing unconditional, if we have these forms, automatically they are valid. So, sir, what are these? Barbara, Salaren, Dari, Iferio. So these are mnemonic devices for people to easily memorize the mood under each figure. May humahabol pa sa klase. Sana. So that in figure 1, the only unconditionally valid syllogisms are AAA, yung una, Barbara. Second is EAE. Pangatlo is AII, EIO. Same with figure 2, yung mga nakared dyan. Like, yan yung mga mood natin under figure 2. Figure 3, ganun din, and figure 4. Sir, yung mga naka-yellow, anong mga yan? These are conditionally. So, conditional ang kanilang validity. It means that they can either be valid or invalid. If the condition is met for their validity, then they are valid. But if the condition is not met, then they are invalid. So what is the condition? The condition is the factuality of the terms used. The facticity or factuality. Totoo ba? Existing ba? Yung mga ginagamit na termino doon. Halimbawa, use COVID-19. Ginamit mo yung COVID-19 as one of the terms. Totoo ba na may COVID-19? Kung nasa ito figure 4, AEO, tapos COVID-19 ang ginamit, would it be valid or invalid? So balikan natin yung katotohanan ng COVID-19. If it is true that there is actually COVID-19, then that would make our syllogism valid. But if we find out that COVID-19 is just a hallucination, hindi siya totoo, it is a false information, then that would make our syllogism invalid. Unicorn ang ginamit mo. Totoo ba na may unicorn? So, nakadepende talaga. The validity is dependent on the factuality or falsity of the terms used. Okay? So, we have 15 unconditionally valid syllogisms, and 9. Conditionally valid syllogisms. So you have to memorize this. Though, since we are not face-to-face, hindi naman tayo face-to-face, you can always open this one as your coding goal. But it would be better if you're going to master this. You can create your own mnemonic device as explained in this video. So that's it for our mood and figure. Now let's proceed with part 2, the Venn diagram. So please wait for the next presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So Venn
Yes, sir.
diagram. We use the Venn diagram to test the validity of a syllogism. So that is the main purpose of using the Venn diagram. Malalaman natin dito kung yung syllogism ba natin ay valid o invalid. Kasi kahit wala yung syllogism, kapag meron yung Venn diagram, masasabi natin na yung ating syllogism ay valid or invalid. In the Venn diagram, there are 3 circles involved. Tatlong circles ang nandyan. Circle for the subject or minor term, a circle for the predicate or the major term, and another circle for the middle term. So, dito siya sa taas. Pero sa ngayon, dito muna tayo sa dalawa. The subject and the predicate or the major and the minor term. Yan. So, sa shading muna tayo. Saan ba natin ilalagay yung shade or yung X? At ano ang ibig sabihin? So here, our example here, all S are P. So, kung ito yung ating proposition, saan natin ilalagay yung shade? We do shading if the proposition is universal, okay? And we use X if the propositions involve are particular or particulars. So here, since it is universal, then shading. All S are P. Sir, bakit yung S ang naka-shade? Bakit yung subject ang naka-shade? Bakit yung middle term, ang minor term ang naka-shade? Kasi sinasabi sa ating proposition that all S are P. So that all all the members of S are members of P. Hence this area, this one, the interlapping area where S and P met should be clear. Dapat clear yan kasi ang sinasabi dito kapag ganito, lahat ng S ay nasa P. Kaya yung bahagi ng S na labas sa P, yun yung iba-block out natin. Ulitin ko yung S na nasa labas ng P, ay iba-block out natin. Kasi ang sinasabi ng proposition natin, lahat ng S ay bahagi ng P. At yung bahagi ng S na nasa P ay ito lamang. Kaya ito ang dapat na manatili. It should be left clear. At yung bahagi ng S na hindi bahagi ng P, yun yung iba-block out natin, yun yung isi-shade natin. So, kahit actually wala na yung proposition na all SRP, kapag yung diagram ay ganito, babasahin natin na all SRP. Okay? Ganyan siya. So, pagpalitan natin yung ating subject, baseballs. All baseballs around. So, ganun din ang ibig sabihin. So, ito yung mga baseballs na round. Kasi sabi doon, all baseballs are round. Outside of this are not round. Baka ito yung mga baseballs na hindi round. Iba-block out natin yan. Yan ang ibig sabihin niya. Next. Paano naman, sir, kapag universal negative? Kasi kanina, universal affirmative. So, nakalagay naman sa gitna yung ating shade. Ano ang ibig sabihin yan? It's just telling us that no S is a part of P. And vice versa. No P is a part of S. So, no penguins are traffic cops. So, yung penguins, ito, yung S na part. So, it is telling us that no penguins here are members of the traffic cops. Kaya, we put a separation here by shading ito. Ganyan. Always na ganyan yan kapag wala silang connection. So, we block out by shading their connection, the overlapping area, the intersection. So that is for a proposition. Then we proceed with the particular propositions, the I and the O. Some rabbits are vicious killers, or some S are P. So we simply put X at the middle of the two. So sa gitna, sa overlapping area nila. That would indicate that at least one member of S is a member of P. Some rabbits are vicious killers. So at least one rabbit is a vicious killer. So yun ang ibig sabihin. So we do not put the X outside either of the two. Hindi pwedeng sa S lamang o sa P lamang. It should be at the middle of the intersection of the overlapping area. So that is for I. Paano pag O naman? O proposition. Some S are not P. Some S are not P. So if you notice, nakalagay siya sa subject. So at least one member of the subject, which is college students, is not a millionaire. Not a millionaire. Kaya nilagay natin sa labas. Hindi sa loob. At hindi rin siya sa P. Kasi kapag nilagay natin sa P, mababaliktad yung ating proposition. It would become some millionaires are not college students kapag dito sa P nalagay yung X. So, ganyan ang mag-diagram ng O proposition. We put the X and the subject. Not at the middle, not on the predicate, but on the subject area. So, A, E, I, O, we are done. So, paano pag naging tatlo? Tatlo na sila. Ayan. Anyway, we use numbers also para mas madali. M is 1. So, the middle term is 1. Then 2 for the overlapping area of M and S. 3 for the overlapping of the 3 MSP. 4 for the overlapping area of MP. 5 for S. 6 for the overlapping area of S and P. And then 7 for P. So later on, you might not be able to shade online. I might just be asking you to identify which areas by identifying the numbers are to be shaded or to be where the X is located. Mahirap nga naman mag-shade sa online. Now, let us diagram this syllogism. All P are M, all M are S, all S are P. So if I were to diagram this one, all P are M. So ito, it is in between P and M. P and M. All P are M. All members of P are members of M. Kaya, ang i-shade ko dito ay yung 7 and 6. Ito, the P. Ito i-shade ko. I'm going to shade this one. That would tell me that all P, this one, 3 and 4, are M. Okay? Yeah. So, anything outside the M should be blocked out. So again, it is between M and P. So, hindi natin sinasali mo na yung S. MP lamang. Kaya, ibablock ko yung P. I will shade the P area. P and 6. 7 and 6 or 6 and 7. MP. So, all P are M. Then sunod, all M are S. So, it is between M and S. So, sinasabi dito, all the members of M are members of S. So, it is between M and S. So, ibablock out ko yung 1 and 4. Okay, 1 and 4. That would mean that all M are within S. Those which are outside the S should be blackened, should be darkened. So, asan yung, ano dyan yung shadean? So, shaded area would be 1, 4, 6, 7. So, after diagramming the major and minor premises, are we going to diagram also the conclusion? No. By diagramming the two premises, that should allow us to read correctly the conclusion. If we are able to read the conclusion correctly, that would tell us that the syllogism is valid. But if we cannot read through the diagram the conclusion, that would tell us that the syllogism is invalid. So, hindi po dinadiagram yung ating conclusion. Pag na-diagram na yung dalawa, yung major and minor premises, lalabas na yung diagram ng conclusion natin. Pero kung hindi siya lalabas, invalid. Pag lumabas at tama, magiging valid yung syllogism natin. So, ito. So, here, all S are P. supposed to be, ang shaded area dito ay all S or P. So between S and P, 2 and 5 must be shaded to make it valid. Pero hindi. Ang shaded area lamang ay yan. Sabi ko kanina, 1, 4, 6, 7. Yan ang shaded area. Hence, we cannot read, or the conclusion is not shaded, diagram by diagramming the two premises. Hence, this would make our syllogism invalid, because supposed to be all SRP that would tell us that 2 and 5 should be shaded, but in this case, they were not shaded. Kaya, invalid yung ating syllogism na to. Kaya invalid siya. Then, one important thing involving a universal and particular premises. This example, some PRM, all MRS, some SRP. So in this case, nauna yung ating particular na premise. It happened that our major premise is particular and our minor premise is universal. Sir, alin ang uunahin naming i-diagram dyan? So in this case, always diagram first the universal premise, regardless whether it is located in the major or minor premise. Inuuna palagi ng universal proposition kahit nasaan siya. Nasa major premise man o sa minor premise. Yun ang inuuna natin. Kasi pag uunahin natin yung particular, magkakaproblema tayo. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, i-diagram ko muna yung all MRS. All MRS, so between M and S. So, I will shade 1 and 4. 1 and 4. That will tell me that all the members of M are members of S. That's why I blacken the area where it is not within S. Tapos, ita-diagram ko na rin yung particular proposition, some PRM. So, it is between P and M. Supposed to be 4 siya. Lagay ko sa 4. Or kahit nga dito sa sa may linya dito, between 3 and 4. However, we are not allowed to put X in a shaded area. So, yun yung sinasabi ko kanina na inuuna dapat i-diagram yung universal proposition. Kasi kung inuna natin yun, yung particular, nailagay na natin yung X dito sa 4 or in between 3 and 4. Since the 4 area is already shaded, the only choice is to put the X on 3. Kaya ilalagay ko yung X dito sa 3. Ngayon, after diagramming the two propositions, premises, lalabas ba yung ating conclusion? So let us see. Some SRP. In this case, yes, lumabas siya. Kasi nandito yung X sa overlapping area ng S and P. Some SRP. Hence, our syllogism is valid. So, ganito siya. Lalabas ng ganito dapat. Yun. Ganyan na siya. Some SRP. So, that's it for our Venn diagram. Yan ang ating Venn diagram. Any questions so far? May katanungan ba tayo? Do you have questions, clarifications?
None, sir.
Oh, buti naman.
None, sir.
Now, let me remind you of your exercise. If you have read the instruction on the last lesson that I have given you, I ask you to practice diagramming by using the 10 syllogisms that we use for your last activity. Okay, so let me share the just wait for a while. So you're going to diagram the 10 syllogisms, yung 10 syllogism na ginamit natin sa inyong last na activity. So you're going to use a pen and paper, of course. Pen and paper. So kailangan nyo mag-drawing ng tatlong circle, and then saka nyo i-diagram yung mga syllogisms. Then before next meeting, it should be uploaded, should be submitted in the Google Classroom. So take a photo and upload. That is visible for everyone. Okay? Dapat maganda yung inyong pagkagawa, pag-picture din. And next meeting, I will also be uploading the correct diagram. Pero kung meron ng tama doon, sasabihin ko kung alin doon ang tama para makita natin, malaman natin yung tama at mali. Let me just edit this one. Kasi nagkamali ako sa isang dito, sa isang syllogism. Let me edit it. This one. No L is P, all P are K, therefore some K are L. My mood is incorrect here, so let me correct. It is supposed to be I. Yan, I siya. So, anong gagawin nyo dito? Ulitin ko, you're going to diagram these syllogisms. The diagram niya ang mga to. So, you're not going to identify whether valid or invalid kasi naibigay ko na yan, nasabi ko na, naibalik ko na. You're just going to diagram. Okay? Yun lamang. So, this is an exercise so that later on for our next activities, asahan ko na hindi na kayo magkakamali. Okay? Is your exercise and assignment clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So you better use bond paper para maliwanag. Pencil for the shading. So the bigger the better para mas madaling makita. I will not be checking your work one by one. Ipapakita ko yung tama and then you will evaluate kung tama yung ginawa niyo o hindi. Basta ilalagay ko, ipapakita ko yung tama na sagot o diagram. So, any question?
None, sir.
So, if there's none, thank you for the attendance of 30 people as of now. For the benefit of those who did not attend, I will be uploading this in YouTube so that they can access, or even you, because you can always access it anytime when you need it for review. Okay, so with that, thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Annyeong.